The day after the wedding, my mother-in-law snatched the bank card containing my $1.5 million inheritance, saying, "I'll keep this for you, dear." I immediately blocked it. The next morning, my husband's family made 107 phone calls. I smirked coldly. The show had just begun. "My name is Sarah. I'm 30 years old, and I've been married for just one day. They say your wedding day is the happiest day of your life." But as I finally walked into that new condo, adorned with balloons and ribbons, my heart was constricted by an unnamed anxiety. My husband, David, seemed like a kind and decent man. At least, that's what I thought. Yesterday's wedding went smoothly. My parents, despite my father's fragile health, tried their best to smile as they saw their daughter off to her new family. Before I got into the car, my mom slipped a small velvet box into my hands. "Sarah, darling," she whispered, "this is everything your father and I have saved our whole lives, plus the money you've sent us all these years. We're giving this to you. It's $1.5 million. Take it for a rainy day. No matter how good your husband's family is, it's always better to have your own money." I burst into tears. I knew how enormous that sum was, but I also knew its true purpose. This wasn't just money for the future. It was money to save my father's life. He had a severe heart condition, and the doctor said he needed an aortic coronary bypass as soon as possible. The cost of the surgery and rehabilitation was estimated at about $300,000, with the rest for care and living expenses afterward. I had planned to tell David everything after the wedding and take my father to the hospital, but I didn't get the chance. The next morning after the wedding, while David was still fast asleep, my mother-in-law, Eleanor Reynolds, knocked on the door. She brought a plate of pancakes with syrup, smiling sweetly. "Sarah, honey, wake up for breakfast. Let's chat for a bit." I hastily put on my robe and took the plate. David also woke up, scratching his head and mumbling, "Mom, why are you up so early?" Eleanor sat on the edge of the bed. Her gaze quickly swept the room and settled on my purse, which I had left on the vanity table. Inside lay that very bank card and a few pieces of jewelry. "Well now," she drawled, "you two are husband and wife, grown-ups. I'm not young anymore. All I want is for you to live happily." She continued, "Yesterday, I saw your parents hand you a card. They say there's $1.5 million. Yes." My heart skipped a beat. I glanced at David, but he averted his eyes, pretending to look for his slippers. I smiled, a smile I had long rehearsed. "Yes, Eleanor, my parents gave me some money for a fresh start." She patted my hand with her dry, thin palm. "Honey, what are you saying? For a fresh start? You're in this home now. This is your home. We are your family. Who would harm you? Why would you need to protect yourself from anyone? I'll tell you honestly." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You and David are still young, and he is so kind and trusting. Holding such a large sum in your hands, I would worry. What if friends talk him into some failed venture, or you spend it on frivolous things? It would be a shame." I remained silent. The pancakes on the plate had already cooled, and their appetizing smell seemed bitter to me. "How about this?" she continued, as if a brilliant idea had just struck her. "You give this card to me. I'll keep it safe for you. Just keep it, you understand? It's still your money, yours and your husband's, but with me, it will be more secure. When you need to buy a bigger house, or when children are born, I'll give it all back to you." She added, "David is the older son. Next year, Mark, his younger brother, is also getting married. So many things to do, so many worries. Let the money be with me so he doesn't get distracted." I looked at David. He finally looked up and nodded. "Yes, Sarah, Mom is right. It's safest with Mom. Give it to her." My throat went dry. "I'll keep it safe for you." I had heard that phrase too often in tragic stories from friends. It meant putting it into a black hole from which nothing ever returned. They didn't even wait for the honeymoon. Just one day, but I couldn't openly refuse. I knew if I said no, I would immediately become a rude daughter-in-law who didn't respect her husband's family and put money above relationships. I put down the plate and forced out the most meek smile. "Mom, you are absolutely right. I was just worrying about how to manage such a sum. Of course, I'll gladly give it to you for safekeeping. David, You're my witness. I stood up, opened my purse, and took out the bank card in a red gift envelope. Eleanor's eyes lit up. She practically snatched the card from my hands. That's good. That's my girl. My daughter-in-law is the best. I knew it. And what's the pin, dear? My birth date, I replied in an even voice. Eleanor beamed. Excellent. Well, you two rest, children. I'll go prepare lunch. She turned and left. Her gait became so light, as if she had grown 10 years younger. David sighed in relief and hugged me. See, Mom is so happy. You did the right thing. Peace and quiet in the family. Tonight, it's just us. I pushed his hand away. I'm a bit tired. I want to rest. David froze for a moment but then nodded. Oh, yes, of course, rest. I'll go see if Mom needs help. As soon as the door closed behind him, the smile vanished from my face. I collapsed onto the bed. A chill ran down my spine. Their game was too clumsy. I pulled out my phone. Calling the bank now was impossible. She would immediately understand. I texted a friend who worked in the bank's security department and whom I had warned beforehand. Maria, Plan B. My card number, the PIN I just gave her, Sarah's birth date. She's 100% going to the nearest ATM to check the balance. Please track it. As soon as there's an attempt to check the balance or withdraw money with this PIN, immediately block the card. Reason: suspicious transaction. The OK message came almost instantly. I lay down and stared at the ceiling. The red ribbons, left over from the decorations, now seemed like bloodstains. I had hoped David would be different, that he would at least say, Mom, this is Sarah's money. Let her keep it. But no, he was an accomplice. I closed my eyes. Dad, you have to wait for me. Your daughter is not weak. They started this game, but how it ends is up to me. $1.5 million. This was my father's life, and I wouldn't let anyone take it, not even my mother-in-law. I was not mistaken. Exactly at 10 a.m., while I was at my parents' house, sorting documents for my father's hospitalization, my phone began to ring off the hook. It was David. I didn't answer. I knew exactly what was happening. Eleanor, having received the card, couldn't wait. She had gone to the bank or at least to an ATM, and as soon as she entered the PIN I gave her, the system automatically blocked the card. I muted my phone and continued helping my mom pack things for Dad. Mom. Dad finished eating. I'm taking him for tests before the surgery. My mom took my hand. Her face was full of worry. Sarah, your phone won't stop ringing. Did something happen with your husband? No, Mom, nothing serious, I smiled to reassure her. David probably just called to ask if I'd be back for lunch. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I drove my father. He was very weak. His face was gray. His breathing was labored, and my heart ached with pain. This only strengthened my resolve. As I helped my father into the taxi, my phone vibrated again. This time, it was Mark's number, my precious brother-in-law. I ignored it again. Only after I finished all the initial tests and procedures for my father and settled him into his hospital room did I turn on my phone. More than 30 missed calls from David, from Mark, and from an unknown number, which I guessed belonged to Eleanor, calling from someone else's phone. Attached was a series of voice messages. David's voice was full of panic and fury. Sarah, where are you? What the hell have you done? Why is the card blocked? Did you give Mom a non-working card? Sarah, Mom and Mark caused a scene at the bank. They called the branch manager, and he's my boss's college friend. Do you understand how humiliated I am? God, where are you? Mom said if she doesn't get the money today, she'll lie down right there and not leave. Come back immediately. You'll ruin our whole family. I took a deep breath. Humiliated. The first thing he thought of was his reputation. Not, why is Mom trying to withdraw Sarah's money? But, why did you block the card and humiliate my mother? I calmly called David back. He snatched the phone as if he'd been waiting for it. Where are you? He yelled. I moved the phone slightly away from my ear. I'm at the hospital, taking care of my father. The hospital? What's wrong with your father? The card. Explain why you deceived Mom. You gave her a blocked card. I didn't deceive anyone, I replied in an icy tone. I gave her a real card, But I also reported it lost to the bank, so it was blocked. Silence fell on the other end for a second. David seemed not to believe his ears. What did you say? Reported it lost? Are you out of your mind? You gave it to Mom and then immediately reported it lost. What game are you playing, Sarah? I'm not playing any games. This is my money. Mom said she would keep it for herself. But her actions this morning clearly showed that she wanted to withdraw every penny. I don't agree, David faltered. But because of this, I'm having problems now. Mom and Mark are screaming in the bank lobby that they've been robbed. The manager had to come out. They're demanding to see camera footage to find out who blocked the card. Come here immediately. Tell them you made a mistake. I clearly heard Eleanor's screech in the background. Her voice was shrill and vulgar, completely unlike her sweet tone that morning. Call that Sarah. My daughter-in-law gave me a $1.5 million card. What right did you have to block it? Did you decide to steal my family's money? Call your director. And then, Mark's lazy but arrogant voice rang out. Mom, why talk to them? We need to tear this place apart. Scammers. A daughter-in-law gives money to her mother-in-law. That's sacred. And they interfere. I felt sick to my stomach. Sacred business, David, I said slowly, enunciating each word. I'm not coming there. I repeat. I'm at the hospital with my father. Tell your mother and your brother to stop this circus. They're embarrassing themselves, the Reynolds family, not me. The card is in my name. I am its owner. I have every right to block or unblock it. The bank acts strictly according to the rules, protecting its client. Sarah, how can you say that? You're a daughter-in-law in this house, David hissed again. I'm a daughter-in-law, not an ATM, and I am her daughter. My father is seriously ill. I'm telling you this, so you know. I don't have time for arguments. Tell your mother to go home. We'll revisit this conversation tonight. I hung up. I didn't want to hear another word. I peeked through the hospital room door. Mom was peeling an apple for Dad. Two elderly people who had worked all their lives, never allowing themselves a single unnecessary expense. Everything for me and for his treatment. And those people who, just a day ago, called me daughter with a smile, today tried to snatch my father's lifeline to buy a condo for their spoiled son. This was no longer disappointment. It was contempt. I sat in the hospital corridor for a long time. I knew the battle had only just begun. Today's storm at the bank was just a prelude. The real storm would break out at home tonight when I returned. And I was ready. I would show them that Sarah was not a meek lamb to be trifled with. I returned home after dark. After dinner at my parents' house, I struggled to swallow a bite. A lump was in my throat. I lied, saying my husband had matters at home and I needed to go urgently. Mom handed me a bag of fruit, giving advice. You just joined a new family. Be more patient. Young couples, things happen, dishes break. I just nodded, not daring to look her in the eyes. I can't be patient, Mom. This isn't just an argument. They are encroaching on Dad's life. I opened the door and entered the condo. The atmosphere was heavy, like lead. Eleanor sat on the couch with a stone face. Mark sprawled in the armchair, feet on the table, absorbed in his phone, his face sullen. Seeing me, Eleanor snorted coldly, and Mark mumbled, "Oh, the witch is back." I ignored them, calmly greeting them. "Hello, Mom. Hi, Mark. David isn't back yet?" Eleanor forcefully threw the remote onto the table. "You found your way home, and you still have the nerve to call me Mom. You're a great actress. This morning, you so sweetly handed me the card, and then blocked it behind my back. You played me well, didn't you?" I put down my bag. I didn't play anyone. I said the pin was my birth date, but I didn't consent to you withdrawing $1.5 million. You said you would keep it safe for me. But you and Mark went to the bank to withdraw every penny. You didn't even ask me. Mark jumped up. What are you talking about? Since you married into this house, your money is this house's money. Mom was right to take it. You're my sister-in-law. I'm getting married soon. If you don't take care of me, who will? Or are you going to spend all $1.5 million on your family? Ah, so that's it. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. This money is from my parents. My voice turned icy. It's my separate property. By law. What I spend it on is my right. And your wedding, Mark, is your concern. Your mom's and David's, but not mine. You're rude. Eleanor trembled, pointing a finger at me. An uneducated brat, only a day in the house, and you've already shown your true colors. Who do you think we are? Just then, the door opened, and David walked in. His face was gray and tired. Apparently, his boss had chewed him out because of the bank scandal. What's going on here? He threw his briefcase down and loosened his tie. Eleanor immediately burst into tears. David, son, look what your precious wife is saying. She declares it's her money, that our home means nothing to her. She insulted me, your brother. Oh, woe is me, what a viper we've brought into our home. Mom, calm down, David yelled, then turned to me. In his eyes, there was no longer kindness or fatigue, only extreme irritation. Sarah, this is too much. You were gone all day, and now you come back and bring Mom to tears. I looked directly into my husband's eyes. You're asking me? You should ask your mom and brother what they did at the bank. Ask them who tried to steal my $1.5 million. What theft? David roared louder than I expected. I'll tell you something. You married me. You're my wife. Your money is this family's money. Don't be so selfish. My parents raised me. Now we need to take care of my younger brother. What's wrong with that? My heart sank. That was it. The mask of a kind, loving husband had finally fallen off. Before me stood Eleanor Reynolds' obedient son, Mark's exemplary older brother. Take care of younger brother with my $1.5 million inheritance. I repeated the question I had already asked myself. What else? David shouted, as if his patience had run out. I'm telling you straight, Mark is getting married soon. His fiancée said she'd only marry him if they had their own condo in a new development. Mom was going to put a down payment on a 3-bedroom condo for him today, with that money. And you ruined everything. I laughed a dry, bitter laugh. A condo for Mark? $1. $5 million? David, what do you think? Did this money fall from the sky? Did you ever ask me? Did you think about me? Or did you just decide this idiot Sarah would give everything away if you said the magic words, I'll keep it safe for you? Eleanor, feeling David's support, became even more brazen. And what will you do? You're already a daughter-in-law in this house. Even you belong to this family, not to mention the money. I'll tell you this, Sarah. Either you go to the bank tomorrow, unblock the card, and give me the money. I'll take care of Mark, and what's left, I'll decide later. Or what? I interrupted her. Or get out of this house. Divorce. Immediately. This house won't tolerate an ungrateful daughter-in-law who puts money above her husband and his family. I looked at David. David, are you of the same opinion? He clenched his teeth and turned away, not daring to look me in the eyes. Sarah, don't make it difficult. Apologize to Mom, and tomorrow you'll unblock the money. I promise. Then I'll pay you back everything. Pay me back with what? Your $80,000 salary? My voice became terrifyingly calm. David, I'll tell you something. You won't get a single cent of that $1.5 million. You dare? David stammered. You'll see soon enough if I dare or not. I turned to Eleanor and Mark. Find an apartment for Mark yourselves. You can't even dream of my money. I repeat, it's my personal property. Having said this, I grabbed my bag and headed to the bedroom, ignoring David's shouts, Eleanor's curses, and Mark's threats. I slammed the door shut and locked it. I heard David pounding on the door. Sarah, open up. What does this mean? Do you want to destroy our family? Open the door. I slid to the floor, leaning my back against the door. Only now did the tears flow. I cried not out of fear or weakness. I cried from my own stupidity. I had trusted the wrong person. I had married a weak-willed man for whom his own family was everything, and his wife merely a tool, a gold mine to be exploited. I thought that after the wedding, I would tell him about my father's illness. I would say, let's spend $300,000 on treatment and put the remaining $1.2 million into savings. We'll build our future together. I had envisioned that future, but they destroyed everything in one day. I wiped away my tears. No, I couldn't cry. My father was waiting for me. I couldn't lose this battle. I pulled out my phone and turned on the voice recorder. I knew it would be a long night, and I needed evidence. Evidence of this family's true nature. David's pounding on the door grew louder. His tone changed from pleading to threats. "Sarah, stop acting like a child. Open up. Do you hear me? If you don't open up, I'll break down the door." I knew he wouldn't dare. This condo, after all, had been bought by me before the wedding. David had only invested a small sum in furniture. If he broke it, he would have to pay. But I also understood that hiding in the room was not a solution. I needed to talk, to lay out the truth, to see how his face would change. I took a deep breath, wiped my tears, and adjusted my clothes. I turned off the bedroom light, leaving only the dim light from the hallway. Making sure the recorder was working, I slowly turned the key in the lock. The door swung open, and David, not expecting it, stumbled into the room. "You," he began, but I stood, arms crossed, looking at the man I called my husband. "What else do you want to say? I've made myself clear. I'm not giving you the money." David looked at me. In his eyes was a complex mixture of anger, confusion, and calculation. He didn't pounce on me with shouts, but changed tactics. He sighed, sat on the edge of the bed, and buried his face in his hands. "Sarah, why are you so stubborn? Mom is crying out there. Mark is upset. Look what our home has become. Do you really want our family to fall apart over some money on the second day after our wedding?" I smiled bitterly. "Family? You call this a family? A family is when a mother-in-law and brother-in-law pounce on a daughter-in-law's inheritance the morning after the wedding. A family is when a husband, along with his mother, forces his wife to give up $1.5 million for his brother's condo. It's not coercion," David hastily objected. "Mom just wanted to hold it for you. Mark is having a hard time right now. You're the sister-in-law. Help him out a little." "What's wrong with that?" "You're too selfish, Sarah." "Selfish?" I repeated. My voice trembled with anger. "David, you call me selfish? Do you know what that $1.5 million is for? Did you ever once ask me what I intended to spend it on? Or in your eyes, I brought this money into your home only to serve the Reynolds family?" David seemed to stumble. He stared at me. "What else?" "An inheritance is for our family. Mark needs it more right now. We'll give it to him." "No, we'll take care of him, and then we'll earn our own. I'm the older son. I have responsibilities." I looked at him, and I felt sorry. Sorry for him, and sorry for myself. "Listen carefully," I said, my voice devoid of all emotion. "This $1.5 million is not extra money. It's not for buying condos, cars, or lending out." I paused, looking him directly in the eyes. "It's money for heart surgery, to save my father's life." The words "save my father's life" rang clearly and firmly in the dark room. The smirk on David's face froze. He blinked several times, as if he had heard something incredible. "What? What did you say?" "I said my father is very seriously ill," I snarled, and tears welled up in my eyes again. "The doctor said he needs an aortic coronary bypass immediately, or he could die at any moment. The cost of the surgery, medicine, rehabilitation, all of it is about $300,000, the other $1. $2 million is the money my parents will live on, because after this operation, Dad will never be able to work again. That's why they gave me everything they had, plus my savings, because they trusted me. They trusted that their son-in-law, you, along with me, would take care of Dad." I sobbed. All the pent-up despair burst out. "And what did you do? You, your mother, your brother. You were going to take that $1.5 million? You were going to use money meant to save my father's life to buy a condo for your precious son? Are you even human?" I collapsed to the floor, covering my face with my hands. I didn't want to cry in front of him, but I couldn't stop. David froze for a few seconds, then ran to me in a panic. He knelt, trying to remove my hands from my face. "God, Sarah, your father, he's so seriously ill. Why? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" His voice was full of horror and remorse. He hugged me, stroking my back. "Forgive me. I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know. Oh God, Mom didn't know either, and Mark didn't know. We just thought it was a regular inheritance. Forgive me, Sarah. I looked up at him with tear-filled eyes. A performance. He played too well. That shocked face, that voice trembling with remorse. If it were yesterday's me, I might have believed him. But after what happened at the bank, after he yelled at me half an hour ago, I no longer believed anything. He pretended to be shocked, just as I expected. A husband who truly loves his wife, hearing that his father-in-law is seriously ill, would first ask where he is, how his condition is. I'm coming to him, not frantically make excuses. Forgive me, Sarah. I was wrong. I shouldn't have, David repeated. I pushed him away, coldly wiping my tears. Too late. You don't have to pretend. I'm tired. No, I'm not pretending, he hastily assured me. I'm in shock. I must immediately go and tell Mom. If she finds out it's money to save a life, she'll never demand it again. Really, believe me, I'll go right now and talk to her. He jumped up. His face expressed determination, as if he was about to do something extremely important. You stay here, I'll talk to Mom. Explain everything to her. She'll understand. Wait for me. All right. Having said that, David rushed out of the room. I watched him go. He didn't even close the door behind him. I smiled bitterly, sitting on the floor. Explain to Mom? He ran to explain to her, or to discuss a new plan, to discuss that since this Sarah says so, how much can they still ask for, or to check if she's lying. I didn't turn off the voice recorder. I knew the best act of this play was yet to come. I sat in the room for no more than 5 minutes. Outside, I heard David's whisper, and then Eleanor's loud voice. What? What did you say? Then Mark intervened. What illness? No way. And then my room door burst open. Eleanor stormed in. David and Mark were behind her. David tried to hold his mother's arm. Mom, calm down. Let me talk. Silence. Eleanor threw David's hand away. She walked straight to me. I managed to stand up and step back a few steps, still tightly clutching my phone with the voice recorder on. She glared at me from head to toe. Her eyes were like 2 daggers. I ask you, what nonsense did you just tell David? You said this $1.5 million is for your father's treatment. I looked her straight in the eyes. Yes, that's true. My father has a severe heart condition. He needs urgent surgery. You're lying, Eleanor shrieked. You think I'll believe that garbage? I've lived my life. You can't fool me. You saw we needed money for Mark, got scared to lose it, and made up a story about a sick father to keep it. I was stunned. I allowed that they might doubt me, but I didn't think she could say those words so brazenly and maliciously. Mom, why are you talking like that? David interjected. Maybe it's true. Sarah wouldn't joke about such things. And you're as foolish as she is. Eleanor pounced on her son. She said, and you believed her. Illness? Which hospital? Where are the documents? I saw your father-in-law. He wasn't even coughing. And suddenly heart surgery for $1.5 million? As if this hospital is made of gold. Mark, standing in the doorway with his arms crossed, smirked. Exactly, Mom. I think this actress is overacting. If her father was dying, she wouldn't have gotten married. Or maybe she's just jealous that I'm getting a new condo soon. So she decided to ruin everything. I trembled, not from fear, but from rage. You may not believe it, but it's true. I can show you the medical documents, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you won't touch this money. Oh. Eleanor clapped her thighs. She's sassing back now. David, look who you brought into this house. Well, I'll tell you, Sarah. I don't care if your father is actually sick or not. Even if he is, she brought her face close to mine, the surgery only costs $300,000. You said so. My heart sank. Mom, what do you mean? What do I mean? She sneered. It means our family also has an urgent matter. Mark's future is the matter of his whole life. You take your $300,000 and treat your father, and give me the other $1.2 million. I'll take care of your brother-in-law, and everyone will be happy. You'll have money for treatment, we'll have money for a condo, and you'll remain a good daughter-in-law. How about that? Did I make a fair judgment? I stepped back another pace, looking at her as if she were a monster. David was also in shock. Mom, how can you? You be quiet again. Eleanor cut him off. You're the older son. And so foolish. She herself said $300,000 is enough. That means we take $1.2 million. It's all fair. Or do you want her to hoard the other $1.2 million for herself? She'll take that money to her family, and what will you get from it? My God. I couldn't believe my ears. These were the words of a mother, a future grandmother. I don't agree, I said. My voice was surprisingly calm. The phone in my hand continued to record every word. I already said $300,000 for the surgery, $1.2 million for my parents' living expenses afterward. I will not give you a single cent. You dare? Eleanor's eyes bulged. You won't give? Then get out of this house. Divorce. Immediately. I'm giving you a choice. Mom, don't pressure her so hard, David finally pleaded, but his voice expressed not a defense of me, but fear that things had gone too far. Mom, let me talk to Sarah. No talks, Mark intervened. I think Mom is right. Either she gives $1.2 million or divorce. It's simple. Why do we need a wife who only thinks about taking money to her own family and disrespects her husband's family? Exactly. Divorce, Eleanor nodded. If you don't give the money, tomorrow we go to court. We'll see who will marry someone like you with your millions. Or are you going to be a caregiver for your father all your life? I looked at the three people before me. A greedy and cruel mother, a lazy and arrogant brother-in-law, and a weak-willed, useless husband who stood in the middle and dared not say a word in defense of his wife, fearing only the breakup of the family. I turned off the voice recorder. Enough. This evidence was more than sufficient. I took a deep breath. All right, divorce. So, divorce. But be warned. I raised my phone, everything you just said. From demanding $1.2 million to threatening divorce, I recorded on my phone. All three froze. Eleanor's face turned from crimson to deathly pale. David stammered. You recorded? Yes. I didn't want to, but you forced me to, I said in an icy tone. Now, please leave my room. I need to be alone. And I repeat, you won't get a single cent of that $1.5 million. Tomorrow I'm going to the bank. Eleanor opened her mouth to burst into curses, but Mark pulled her arm. Mom, she really recorded it. David looked at me with an incredulous, frightened, and simultaneously enraged gaze. He understood that if this recording got out, his career was over. I said nothing more, silently slammed the door, and locked myself in again. This time, there was no knocking on the door, only Eleanor's muffled, hissing voice and David's whisper from the living room. They were scared, and I sat on the floor. My hands trembled, but I knew what to do next. The plan was in motion. I didn't sleep all night. I sat, leaning against the headboard, listening to the sounds outside. Eleanor, David, and Mark whispered about something until late. Sometimes her voice would rise to a shout, but David and Mark would immediately quiet her down. They no longer dared to make noise, fearing the recording on my phone. I couldn't sleep due to worry about my father. Tomorrow was crucial. I needed to transfer the money to a safe place. Blocking the card was a temporary measure. As soon as I went to the bank and verified my identity, it would be unblocked. And Eleanor knew this. I finally drifted off to sleep towards morning, when everything outside the door fell silent. I woke up at dawn. The fatigue and self-pity were gone. I had cried all my tears last night. Today, I had to act. I went into the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror, swollen eyes, an exhausted face. Sarah, you don't have the right to give up, I told myself. I turned on the hot shower, then opened the closet. It mainly contained business attire, but for the wedding, I had brought some of my best outfits. I chose a beige silk dress, elegant and strict, applied light makeup to hide the dark circles under my eyes, and put on the brightest red lipstick I had. I wanted to look strong and confident. I was not a victim. After getting ready, I checked my documents, phone, and a second bank card in my purse, which I had secretly opened long ago in my mother's name, Anna Peterson. Taking a deep breath, I opened the bedroom door. A chilling silence reigned in the living room. All three were already awake. Eleanor sat on the couch with dark circles under her eyes. Mark sprawled in the armchair, looking like a martyr. Seeing me, David hastily stood up. "Sarah, you're awake. Are you going somewhere?" His voice was uncertain and suspicious. He no longer dared to shout at me. I cast a glance at him. "To the bank." Those two words sounded like an explosion. Eleanor jumped up. "To the bank? You thought it over. You're going to withdraw $1.2 million for me?" "Yes." I smiled a smile they had certainly never seen. "You can think what you want." Mark also sat up straight. "Are you serious? You'll give the $1.2 million? And what about the recording?" "If everything goes smoothly today," I tossed out nonchalantly, "perhaps I'll accidentally delete that recording." Eleanor's eyes lit up. She immediately changed her tone. "I knew it. My daughter-in-law is the most sensible. Sarah, I was a bit hot-headed yesterday. Don't hold it against me." "David, Mark, why are you sitting there? Quickly drive your sister to the bank." David breathed a sigh of relief. "Right, I'll drive you, Sarah. You're doing the right thing. We'll live peacefully again." I waved my hand. "No need. I'll get there myself. I don't want to bother you." "You're not bothering at all." "Not at all." Eleanor bustled. "Let David drive you for safety. It's dangerous, with a large sum of money." She was afraid I would change my mind, that I would run away on the road. I looked at David and nodded. "All right, then you'll drive me, but I warn you, Mom and Mark stay home." "I'll only talk to you," Eleanor immediately agreed. Yes, we'll be home. I'll cook something delicious for your return. Mark, you stay home too." She nudged David. David hastily grabbed his car keys. He opened the door for me, even holding it like a gentleman. As the car started, he tried to start a conversation. "Sarah, forgive me for yesterday. Mom, she's just worried about Mark. Please understand her." I remained silent, looking out the window. "You'll delete that recording, right? It's dangerous to keep something like that on your phone. What if someone sees it?" When we get to the bank, I interrupted him. David fell silent and drove faster. We arrived at the familiar bank branch, where I was a VIP client. The branch manager, who had endured an unpleasant few minutes yesterday because of Eleanor, rushed to meet me today. "Hello, Miss Thompson. There was a small misunderstanding yesterday." I smiled. "No problem. Today, I've come to settle things. I want to unblock my card." Yes, of course. "Please, step into the private office." David followed me like a shadow. He sat next to me, nervously clasping his hands. The teller began the procedure. "Miss Thompson, your card is unblocked. Your current balance is exactly $1.5 million. Do you wish to?" "I want to make a transfer," I said clearly. David's heart seemed to beat faster. He swallowed. "Of course. What amount do you wish to transfer?" I looked at the teller, then glanced at David. He held his breath. I smiled brightly. "I want to transfer the entire sum, $1.5 million. "The entire sum?" the teller asked, surprised. David almost jumped out of his chair. "Yes. Transfer all $1.5 million to this account." I handed her a slip of paper with my mother, Anna Peterson's, account number. David's face contorted. "Sarah, what are you doing? Who are you transferring to? Why $1.5 million? You said $1.2 million. I turned to him, still smiling. "I said I'd delete the recording if everything went smoothly. Did I say I'd give you $1.2 million? You tricked me," David realized. "I'm just learning from your family," I said. "Excuse me, could you please not interfere with my transaction?" I turned back to the teller, who was looking at us bewildered. "Please continue, transfer everything." David was like a cornered animal. He couldn't believe that his quiet, compliant wife had become so sharp and ruthless in just 2 days. He lunged at me, trying to snatch the pen from my hand. "Sarah, are you crazy? Don't you dare do that. Stop." But before he could touch me, a security guard intercepted his arm in mid-air. The branch manager signaled him. Mr. Reynolds, the manager said in a stern voice, this is a VIP client office. Our client, Miss Thompson, is conducting a transaction from her personal account. All documents are in order. Please maintain your composure. If you continue to interfere, we will be forced to ask you to leave. David froze. He looked at me, at the guard, at the manager. He was trapped. He couldn't cause a scene here. There were cameras everywhere. You'll regret this, he growled through clenched teeth. I didn't even look at him. I calmly signed the last document. Done. The teller quickly tapped on her keyboard. Miss Thompson, the transaction was successful. $1.5 million has been successfully transferred to Anna Peterson's account. Here's your receipt. I took the receipt, the proof of my freedom. I neatly folded it and put it in my purse. I stood up and smiled at the manager. Thank you for your help. Sorry for the trouble. Not at all. It's our job. Have a good day, Miss Thompson. I turned my back. David was still shouting into his phone. Mom, have you arrived yet? Hurry. She's leaving. I walked out of the VIP office, through the large transaction hall. I felt relief. The burden of $1.5 million, the burden of my husband's family, the burden of my sick father. At least the money was safe now. My father would be saved. I pushed the glass door to exit onto the street, and then a chaotic scene unfolded. A taxi screeched to a halt right in front of the entrance. The door flew open, and out of it, like an arrow, shot Eleanor, disheveled, with a crimson face. Mark followed her. Apparently, as soon as David called, she immediately hailed a cab. Without paying the driver, she rushed straight towards me, eyes blazing. Brat, stop! The security guard at the door tried to stop her. Ma'am, you can't. This is a private area. There's an operation going on. She pushed him aside and ran to me, stopping a few steps away. David ran out from inside. Mom! Eleanor was breathing heavily. She pointed a finger at me, but her hand trembled so much she couldn't utter a word. Where's the money? I straightened up and looked directly into the eyes of the woman who had tried to take my father's life. My voice rang out calmly, clearly, and loudly, echoing through the entire bank lobby, where curious onlookers had already begun to gather. Mom, I transferred the money. What did you say? I said. I repeated. I transferred all. Iwo. Addis. Modivla Canada. Right Townses. And then Moxifer. It is nowis. Apis. Takes capertit. Aid haven mater. It's taptit. Data. H1 is an espadius. Actionate of day. Definite ring. I have decided hasses. Afficension. Axbliss. I'm unrated. Inever. Ontect. And X time in the CVT. Tells the first 10. 1 is day. I am. It's not related. If cordance. Adacleme. It's not ability. And action trive. Action. Wide AS. Analyvated. Axivicial day. It's not red. In is 1. Minus divisions. Any 10. And I Fly redder 9. And there's about minute. Todation. Remember. In remember. In times thank you. In todayus. 8. Expranter. That's lest if you want to would. Actually stand by. It's sprayed. By targeted half. That is never saven. 2 plays of the 17. 1 and 2. If you won together and rotted. Adol re-dad. Absolutal bowed. It's not. Lever in righted. And stand. And a video. Actually one. A fandalizant. As a. Displace. And then. Action. Axbilin. Anyway. And leafers. Elivers stain. With you did. At. Azerway. Action. 80. And have a drabbed. Apizet. Incline it lays. And of water. It's sex fiver. And ever 7. Dacted. 91. 2s. Ascas. And resus. Do 8 lytics. It has note of the preset. An example. It's not. 80 formant. In their packion. Axivant. A for ones. Tixes at it. As what no? Lixting. It's 291. And it is. Tixabacted. Affritator go. Experience cited. Actions live and rebetted. Action. Acher. Everyone individual. Added. The right mind says. Axisly frest. Added. In the crease. Inton edis. Ivicli. Edin mever. Hepraday. Axid. Takestad. In dinu. As in the free. One. Very one is another one. Nas. It is side. And have the tact. And a line. It's stancerly added. And today ever. All of is tated one. Even lean. It's mot rounded. And ever five. It's to scram. It's start mine. And a carmine. Apsiplay. Leffit. Additor. Ever point foreman in the rows. Dime. Action ratered. And ratered. It's not round. Right honbers. Actually one. Decided on a very. And it. Coming money stands. In rounder. When everyone it tus. In English. In the styums of course. In the bad of the doers. It's a mond. I have two private. Adder intended. In the scaber. Last end. Actor and sting that a sare. 18ers that. 2000s. Any tenture. In the restin and relooning aiders. In as mud of crosses. It's not habid. Have tells rebutting us. An inberis. An emerist. It's telbis. Intinus video. An action. One. Rection. 1. 5 million to my mother. Anna Peterson. As account. This money is for my father. Surgery. You. Retulate. A second. 2. There seemed to thicken. Eleanor. Says bulged. Her mouth opened but Medeno sound. 1.5 million. She managed to gasp. And then, like a puppet with cut strings, she staggered. My money. Mark's condo. Her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed onto the marble floor, unconscious. Mom! Mark cried desperately, rushing to her. Mom! David also panicked. The entire bank lobby came alive. People rushed over. Someone's unconscious. Call an ambulance. Stroke, probably. Mark looked up at me, his eyes full of hatred, bloodshot. Murderer! You killed my mother. David also looked at me. In his gaze, there was no longer anger, only emptiness and extreme fear. I said nothing more. I turned, pushed the glass door, and walked out onto the street. The bright morning sun hit my face, making me squint, but I was no longer cold. I hailed a taxi and drove towards the hospital, where my father was waiting. I didn't go home immediately. I went to the hospital, paid all the bills, and signed all the necessary documents for my father's surgery. Seeing the receipt for the $300,000 payment, my mother burst into tears. Sarah, darling, what about your husband's family? I took her hand. Mom, don't worry about anything. I handled it all. The main thing now is that Dad's surgery goes well. Everything else is unimportant. I stayed at the hospital until evening, until my father was taken to pre-op. I encouraged him, told him not to worry, that I had taken care of everything. Looking into his trusting eyes, I knew I was doing the right thing. When I returned to our condo, it was already completely dark. The house was cold and dark. David's shoes were by the door. He was home. I turned on the living room light. David was sitting in the dark on the couch. He didn't look at me. In front of him on the table was a half-empty bottle of brandy. The heavy smell of alcohol hung in the air. I said nothing either. I walked straight into my study. I knew today was the end. I opened my laptop. The file had been ready for a long time, a petition for divorce. I began typing, making corrections. There was almost no jointly acquired property. The condo had been bought by me before the marriage. David had only invested $30,000 in furniture. I would return that money to him. The car, bought after the wedding, was registered in my name, but he also used it. I didn't need it. I would leave it to him. I wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Reasons for divorce. Irreconcilable differences making continued cohabitation impossible. Emotional abandonment. Husband's collusion with family members to fraudulently acquire wife's premarital separate property, namely monetary assets, totaling $1.5 million, intended for her father's life-saving heart surgery. I typed each word clearly and distinctly. I was about to hit the print button when David stumbled into the study. His face was crimson, his eyes bloodshot from alcohol and rage. You're back. He smiled a terrifying smile. I didn't answer. My mother is in the ICU. She had a hypertensive crisis. Almost had a stroke. You're probably very happy. I turned in my chair to face him. Have you said everything? If so, let me pass. Pass where? David squinted. He lunged at my laptop and stared at the screen. He read the headline, Petition for Divorce. His face contorted. Divorce? You dare to file for divorce? Why not? I replied calmly. You. He trembled. And then, as if remembering something, he laughed maliciously. Excellent. You want a divorce? Yes. You'll get it. He stumbled out into the living room, began rummaging through his briefcase. He pulled out a stack of papers and threw them in my face. The papers scattered across the room. You want a divorce? Sign it. I've already prepared everything. I picked up one sheet. It was indeed a divorce petition. Had he prepared it, or had Eleanor prepared it for him? Sign it, David roared. He grabbed me by the collar. Sign it, but first, return the $1.2 million. I'll allow you to take $300,000 for your father, as my mother said, but hand over the other $1.2 million. You give it, I'll sign. If not what? I forcefully pushed his hand away. The fear was gone. Will you hit me? Go ahead, hit me, so I can call the police, so I can add domestic violence to the divorce petition. David froze. He realized I wasn't joking. I looked at him with the coldest gaze. You think you're in a winning position. You think you can blackmail me with this petition to make me give you the money. I laughed contemptuously. David, you chose your mother and your brother. You chose a condo for Mark instead of my father's life. You chose the side of those who insulted me. At that moment, we ceased to be husband and wife. I turned to the computer and pressed the print button. The printer whirred. I won't sign your petition. You'll sign mine. I picked up the printed sheet. In your petition, the reasons are irreconcilable differences. In mine, it's fraud and misappropriation of property. I raised my phone. Choose. Either you sign my petition, and we divorce by mutual consent. You take the car. I keep the condo, which is already mine. I return your $30,000, and we go our separate ways. Or, I brought up the audio file on the screen. I send this to all departments of your company, to your CEO, to all your relatives, so they know what a caring older son the Reynolds family has. So caring that he's willing to let his father-in-law die just to take $1.2 million for his brother's condo. Choose. David stared at the phone. His face turned deathly pale. The alcohol fumes had vanished. He understood that his career, his reputation, his future, everything was on that phone. He chose his mother and brother. I chose my father and myself. David stood rooted to the spot. All his rage and aggression disappeared. Only primordial fear remained. He knew I didn't make idle threats. If that recording spread, he wouldn't just lose his job. He wouldn't be able to look anyone in the eye. Sarah. His voice suddenly became soft, pleading. Don't do this. I was wrong. I'm begging you. He started playing the remorseful act I had seen last night. It was all Mom. Honestly, she pressured me. I got carried away. I didn't want this. You're my wife. I love you. He stepped towards me, trying to take my hand. I stepped back, looking at him warily. Sarah, believe me. He clutched his head like a martyr. I just came from the hospital. Mom, she's also remorseful. She's been crying all the time. Says she was wrong, that she shouldn't have pressured you. I silently watched him perform. Remorseful. Someone like Eleanor Reynolds is capable of remorse? Now I'll go back to the hospital, David said, as if he had made a momentous decision. I'll talk to Mom honestly one more time. I'll make her call you and apologize. I'll make her say she doesn't need the money. Yes, I'm going right now. I have to settle all this. He used the same old trick again. I'll talk to Mom. Last time, after such a conversation, the three of them burst into my room demanding $1.2 million. This time, I guessed, He was returning to the hospital to discuss with Eleanor and Mark how to pacify me so I wouldn't release the recording. "You wait for me at home, okay?" he pleaded. "Don't do anything foolish. Don't send that file anywhere. I beg you, Sarah, wait for me. I promise I'll fix everything, I swear." He hastily turned around, looking for his jacket, which he had thrown on a chair. And at that moment, an idea flashed through my mind. I had a miniature voice recorder that I used for work at conferences. It was the size of a button. I knew they wouldn't stop, that they would come up with new tricks. The recording I had was enough for a divorce, but for them to answer for their cruelty in full, I needed more. As David hurriedly put on his jacket, he dropped a set of car keys on the floor. "Damn," he muttered. "You dropped the keys," I said calmly. "I see," he snapped irritably and bent down to pick them up. This was my chance. I swiftly pulled the tiny, already on voice recorder from my desk drawer. While he was bent over, I approached and discreetly slipped it into the outer pocket of his jacket, the pocket where he usually put his cigarettes. The recorder sank into the thick fabric. "I'm going, right now." David picked up the keys and, without looking at me, rushed to the door. He was afraid I would change my mind, that I would press the send button. The door slammed shut. I was left standing in the cold study. I didn't touch the divorce petition on the table. I picked up my phone and opened the app. This recorder had Bluetooth and GPS. I saw a moving red dot. As I suspected, he wasn't driving home to his parents. He was driving straight to the city hospital, where Eleanor was supposedly staying. I sat in the armchair. This time, I wouldn't just listen. I would show them what true hell was. I sat motionless in the study. The only light came from my phone screen. I put on Bluetooth headphones, connected to the tiny voice recorder in David's pocket. I heard his hurried footsteps down the hospital corridor, his labored breathing, the creak of a door opening. And then I heard, "Mom, Mark, everything's lost. Everything's lost." David's voice was full of despair. A lazy voice, without a hint of illness, replied, "Why are you yelling? As if there's a fire. Mom just fell asleep." It was Mark. "Everything's truly lost," David shrieked. "That witch, Sarah. She recorded everything." A short pause. I heard a rustle, as if someone had abruptly sat up in bed. "What did you say?" Eleanor's voice. Strong, sharp, cold. Nothing like the voice of a person who had suffered a hypertensive crisis. What did she record? She recorded that conversation. "Yesterday at our house, when you demanded $1.2 million from her and threatened divorce. She recorded everything." David's voice broke into a sob. "She's threatening me that she'll post it at my work, send it to all our relatives. She's filing for divorce, stating fraud on the part of the husband's family as the reason." "What is it this time?" Mark's voice was no longer lazy. "Is she serious, David? This is the end. If you get fired from this job, we'll all be ruined. Where will I get money for a condo?" "You're still thinking about a condo," David yelled. "My life is falling apart." I heard Eleanor snort coldly. I knew that brat wasn't so simple. Her brazen face at the bank today made it clear. She decided to declare war on our whole family. "And what do we do now, Mom?" David asked in a trembling voice. I lied to her, told her I was coming here to fix everything, told her I'd ask you to call her and apologize so she wouldn't send that file. "Mom, maybe we really should just go along with it? Call her once." "Are you out of your mind?" Eleanor hissed. Her voice sounded so clearly in my headphones that I flinched. "You're suggesting I apologize to that brat? I'm her mother-in-law. She's my daughter-in-law. She should be crawling on her knees to me." "What a fool you are, son." She paused, then continued in a calculating tone. "But David's words make sense. That recording is a bomb. Right now, we need to calm her down." "How do we calm her down?" Mark asked. "David," Eleanor commanded, "go home immediately and fall at her feet." "Mom, what are you saying?" David stammered. "Didn't you hear me?" She snapped. "Go back, fall on your knees, cry, beg her. Tell her you love her, that you can't live without her. Tell her you were a fool, that I pressured you. Blame it all on me. Understand? Say I'm old, out of my mind, greedy. And you, out of filial duty, gave in to me. And now you're remorseful and begging for forgiveness. You must make her believe you. Make her tear up that divorce petition. First, regain her trust. And when you do, she'll delete that recording herself. Fool. I sat motionless, my fists clenched. And the money? Mark asked regretfully. There are. Tanch's action, right? In this form is rec. 100 says, and descred. Affix parroted. Is right for cation head. This 24-5. Entered. Is dated. Takes or what? Everything. It's private devenant 200 press. And attention. It's not efferpations of courted. And efferpations of courted. Explans. 8 is. And this is 9ing aption. And under those, in actions of ness. Evaded fimes. As expensed. I. And ram. And that worry. Enterly. In the day asked. Expanatime and denia. It's the faces for gather. Accetage. Action tell best. Askin of action rust. It's a cran of it. Activated. Tenture allages, if you want to. Axt. As kind. It's the 6 of now there's the 7. It's tunitive now being condit. It's not related it bia. And with comment, action time and revelous. Intentendus. It's not Nate half. Everything's for watching. 1. If you enter pocket, thanks for watching. And that one too. Haven't live it. It's planned. And tincture brighted it. It's tear for 2. Exact. Apser in 22. That 7 times avide. Tended backs. 8. Right it is. 18-7. 8 aver 0. Intacted just of itman. Day for 9. It's second of use this. In time. Tells never. Tecunidita. It's never Klein. Actualist terius. Expland. As been dowed. If you are one, out of it. It's often. 1. Day and backs is the morning nother time is of wait. Tim. 1. I revided 47. It's times this. It's still build in often it. And that was done effect. It's 7 digested. Never. And this for God, is better leasers of log. Action on eclation. It's another dact. Action righted is very effort. Intels. 1. It is bracked. Anyfic. Right 1 resident. Iver 1. And potacleated a vang. Expland. Axibin. And has won it. I was now. ATIs. With cardastated. At ever. Action out of life. Right now. And exprans. As commented Armins. It's senated brightas. I would have dadations. H is often it. Inclidative. Adagown. And. I. There's a love it after tenue. Axidus. In Isera stataday. It's lasted generant. After. Everybody 85. Amly day. It's state ask. It's abroad common. And wither aid in tacket. 1. 18. And this is die. ATS. Talizin racket. With contained. Axt. Axtisizantation. 10. Act. Dindime. And. In it. I am as a visioned. In classed way. Discrip. Resent. Danict. Tecalajode. Minus I dean. Enter wanting explain. Act. 18 taction. NES. Understand. Tense of it is splaying. Right notably tarry. And why tact. 80 no. In extify. Actually love did. An 8. It's not what. Add an intent. I thank you for watching. It's the pellages not a say that in desatus. A treleak. Aver. I noted. Aiding to wick. In the stared. And the tunges. And evect. And 7 times spree. In actionals spast. This not way. He was a standard. Anyone. In a tonaze. Enter. Actuator. Adcastiting. It's a president. Endifris. Autogo. 80 find the dacted. Ad excess. 89. It's stated extavon side. And disdains. It's not find. Minus bidia. 2 they. And let's take it. Out of extans to the cated. It's tend. If you not. Adas. Anner now. He potted telegest fiver. Repiserd. If you love it. Activated is proofrain. Action aided. It's same's that was a vision. Axen and ascom. Died is bat. Any no. Olibarius. Instead are not advided. It's now is no. Aphazan technit. Addis. 8. He was a little talkative. Expland. Tix placed fife. And debescless, and individed, in the remembersed, inexperient, a, 2 million. Should transfer edit. Dind. Teachy. Eleanor's voice became muffled and malicious. I did. T'expect their toe to that. Damn girl. If she transferred it, then her father really sick. I don't. To know, David replied. She was sobbing desperately, saying, 300,000 for the surgery, $1.2 million for life afterward. And then I heard a phrase I would never forget for the rest of my days. Eleanor's voice was slow, cold, and cruel. Old age is no joy. Illness is normal. If the hospital can save him, they will. If not, then it's time to prepare for a funeral. Why should a daughter-in-law's inheritance be spent on the treatment of some old man? This money came into the Reynolds family. It's for my children, for my grandchildren. Mark's wedding is what's important right now. And her father has his own relatives. Let them take care of him. What does she have to do with it? Silence reigned in the room. Even David and Mark dared not say anything in the face of such blatant cruelty. Mom, David stammered, but she transferred the money. Every penny. She has everything. What? I heard a loud crash, as if she had broken a glass or a cup. She transferred everything. You useless piece of trash. I told you to watch her. You let her transfer all the money, $1.2 million. My $1.2 million. Mark's condo. God kill me, David. Her scream was no longer a pretense. It was a scream of genuine fury and loss. Everything's gone, Mark muttered dismally. But she still has that recording. If she posts it, I'm finished too, David moaned. Silence again. I heard Eleanor breathing heavily, like a trapped animal. Since we didn't get the money, she snarled, then we won't let her father live in peace either. Mom, what are you planning? David asked, frightened. You and Mark, her voice was full of venom. Tomorrow morning, you go to that hospital, to the very hospital where that brat's father is lying. Why, Mom? Mark asked. Why? I'll go see if he's really dying. I'll go and tell her in-laws what an ungrateful and sly daughter they have, who deceives and betrays her husband's family. We'll see if she has the conscience to go through with the surgery after that. We'll see if that old man doesn't die of anger right there. If I can't eat, I'll take a bite out of it. Understood? I trembled. A chill ran down my spine. This was no longer just greed. This was the devil. I disconnected the headphones, calmly saved the audio file. I named it Words from Hell. I had had enough. I didn't waste a second. I had thought about using this recording in court, but no. Eleanor's plan changed everything. She wanted to come to the hospital to my father tomorrow morning. She wanted my father to die. I had to strike first. I opened my laptop, went into our family's social media group chat. The group had over 50 people. All of David's aunts, uncles, cousins. Just 2 days ago, this group was filled with photos from our wedding and well wishes. Happiness. What a beautiful bride. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Hello, dear relatives. This is Sarah, David's wife. My message immediately attracted attention. Several people reacted with likes. I typed further. I apologize for disturbing you at such a late hour, but I am desperate. For the past 2 days, I have been living in hell. Immediately after the wedding, my mother-in-law, Eleanor Reynolds, demanded that I give her my $1.5 million inheritance. She did this even though she knew that this money was prepared for my father's heart surgery to save his life. I hit send. The previously quiet chat exploded. What, Sarah, what are you saying? Wrote David's uncle, his father's older brother. Eleanor did that? I can't believe it, wrote one of the aunts. Oh my God, money to save a life. How could anyone do that? I waited a few seconds and typed further. My husband, David, not only did not protect me but also supported his mother, forcing me to give up the money. He said that this $1.5 million was needed to buy a condo for Mark. When I refused, Eleanor and David threatened me with immediate divorce. I had no choice but to record their conversation for self-protection. Here is the proof of how Eleanor and David demanded $2 million from me and threatened divorce yesterday evening. I uploaded the first audio file, the one I recorded at home. The chat went silent. Everyone was listening. After 5 minutes, a real storm began. "My God, David, you're the older son. How could you be such a fool? You listened to your mother," angrily wrote the uncle. "Eleanor, do you have a conscience? Money meant to save a person, to buy a condo for your son. Mark, is he an invalid, that his mother has to rob his sister-in-law? What a disgrace. What a disgrace for the entire Reynolds family." At that moment, a message appeared in the chat from David, or Eleanor using his phone. "Don't believe her. Sarah is lying. She edited the recording to slander our family. She's a sly fox." Before she could finish typing, I sent the next message. "I didn't edit anything. And here is the second recording. This is the plan of Eleanor, David, and Mark, which I recorded 10 minutes ago at the city hospital, where Eleanor is supposedly in the ICU. Please listen to how decent and kind my husband's family is. Listen to the phrase, 'Old age is no joy. Illness is normal.' Why should a daughter-in-law's inheritance be spent on the treatment of some old man?" I uploaded the words from Hellfile and hit send. This time, the silence was even more chilling. It lasted several minutes. I could imagine over 50 people sitting in shock, listening with disgust and anger to Eleanor's cruel words. The uncle was the first to break the silence. "Eleanor, are you even human? David's father would be turning over in his grave if he knew how heartless you are. You raised your sons like this. David, you're not a person. You listened as your mother planned to torment your father-in-law and agreed. From this day forward, the threshold of my home is closed to your entire family. Don't you dare call me uncle." Then the comments poured in. "Cruel. How inhuman. This is rock bottom. God punishes for such things. Poor Sarah. Such a sweet, decent girl, and she fell into this viper's nest. Eleanor, you should think about your soul, about your grandchildren. Do you want this girl's father to die?" I didn't read further. I closed the group chat. My goal was achieved. I had exposed the truth. The Reynolds family relatives would deal with Eleanor and David themselves. Tomorrow morning, no one would dare to come to the hospital to my father and cause a scandal. Now it was time to deal with my husband. I didn't have to wait long. About half an hour after I posted the recordings, the apartment door was roughly flung open. David burst in. He looked as if he had just risen from the dead. His face was white as a sheet, his hair disheveled. His jacket was askew. He stared at me like a ghost. His phone vibrated ceaselessly in his pocket. These were, no doubt, calls from angry relatives. "Sarah," he whispered. I stood in the middle of the living room. Next to me was a suitcase. I had already packed the essentials. I intended to leave that very night. He saw the suitcase. No, Sarah!" He rushed towards me, but he wasn't shouting. He wasn't cursing. He did something I never expected. He fell to his knees. He dropped to the floor right in front of me. "Sarah, I beg you, forgive me. I'm pleading with you, forgive me." David bent over double, hands clasped as if praying to an icon. He was crying. This time, these weren't fake tears of remorse. These were tears of fear, animalistic fear. He had heard the second recording. He knew I knew everything. He knew his career, his reputation, his future. Everything had been destroyed by me with one press of a button. "Forgive me, I was wrong. I'm not a human, I'm an animal." He crawled at my feet, trying to grab my pants. It was all Mom. She forced me. I was so foolish. I didn't want this. "Sarah, you're my wife. I love you." I stepped back, evading his touch. I looked down at the man crawling at my feet. There was ice in my heart. "You love me?" I asked in an even, colorless voice. "You love me. So you, along with your mother, demanded $1.5 million meant to save my father's life." "No, not like that." He raised his tear-stained face. I wanted to help my brother. I didn't think. Or do you agree with your mother that old age is no joy? Illnesses are normal, that even if my father dies, it's no big deal." I interrupted him. Those words were like a stab to David. He froze. You heard everything?" "I heard everything," I confirmed. I heard about your mother's plan to come to the hospital, to my father tomorrow, to take a bite out of him. David trembled. No, I wouldn't have gone. I would never have done that. I would have scolded Mom. I would have disowned her. You delete the message from the chat. Sarah, I'm begging you. Tell the relatives you misunderstood. Tell them you forgave me. Please, Sarah, I promise, I'll be your slave. I'll beg your parents on my knees for forgiveness. Just don't divorce me, don't destroy me. He started sobbing again. Late, meaningless tears. He wasn't crying for my father. He wasn't crying for the pain he caused me. He was crying for himself, for his career, for his false reputation. I looked at him for a long time. My heart had long grown cold. David, I called. He immediately looked up. A thin ray of hope gleamed in his eyes. Yes, Sarah. Stand up. Don't dirty my floor. The hope in his eyes died. He froze. What? What did you say? I said, stand up. No need to crawl on your knees. It's useless, I said clearly. I walked past him to my desk. I picked up both divorce petitions, his and mine. I threw his petition at his feet. You can give this to your mother. I'm not signing irreconcilable differences as the reason. Then I picked up my petition, the one that stated fraud as the reason. And this is mine. Sign it, Sarah. He looked at the petition, then at me, trembling. You're really that ruthless. We've only been married for 3 days. 3 days, I scoffed. In 3 days, you've already wished death upon my father. How much more time do you need? I placed the petition and a pen on the table. You don't have to sign. Then we'll meet in court. And these 2 audio recordings, along with my lawyer's testimony, will be the evidence. Then you won't just lose your job, David. You and your mother could go to jail for fraud and conspiracy to acquire property. David's eyes widened. Jail? Lawyer? You thought I was just bluffing. I've already sent everything to my lawyer. Sign this divorce petition by mutual consent, and I won't file a criminal case. This is the last mercy I'm showing you. Choose. David stared at the petition. His tears dried, leaving only despair and emptiness. He knew he had lost miserably. He stood up, swaying. With a trembling hand, he picked up the pen. He had nothing more to say. I rolled my suitcase towards the door. The sound of the wheels on the parquet floor was the only sound in the room, decisive and final. David's hand trembled. He looked at me, then at the divorce petition, where I had clearly stated the reason: fraudulent acquisition of personal premarital property. He knew that with this petition and the 2 audio recordings, not only he, but also his mother faced criminal prosecution. Finally, he closed his eyes and, with a trembling hand, placed his signature in the spouse box. I signed, David croaked. I won't file a criminal case, I said, taking the signed petition. But I will keep the 2 audio recordings to ensure that you and your family don't do any more foolish things. This condo is mine. You have 3 days to pack your belongings. I'll transfer $30,000 for the furniture to your account. Consider it compensation for the short time I was your wife. Without waiting for his answer, I pulled the suitcase, opened the door, and walked out. I slammed it shut, leaving all the terrible memories of 3 days of marriage behind. That night, I didn't go to my parents. I didn't want them to worry before the surgery. I rented a hotel room near the hospital, took a shower, changed, and tried to sleep, but couldn't. The moment I closed my eyes, I heard Eleanor's malicious voice. Old age is no joy. If I can't eat, I'll take a bite out of it. The next morning, at 6 a.m., the light above the operating room turned on. My father was wheeled away. The surgery was expected to last 5 to 6 hours. My mom and I sat on a bench in the corridor. My heart was ablaze. Mom whispered prayers. Around 8 a.m., at the most critical moment of the surgery, a commotion was heard at the end of the corridor. Let me through. I'm here to visit my in-law. Who are you to stop me? A shrill, terrifyingly familiar voice. Eleanor Reynolds. I jumped up. My heart pounded. She dared to come. After I had posted everything in the family chat, I motioned for Mom to stay put and quickly walked towards them. Eleanor and Mark were trying to push past 2 hospital security guards. She looked insane, with disheveled hair and burning eyes. Mark stood behind her, sullen, hands in his pockets. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area. Unauthorized entry is prohibited. A surgery is in progress." "Please don't make noise," the security guard said. "Surgery?" Eleanor sneered maliciously. "Paid for with my family's money. I'm going to see if he's dead or not. Let me through." She pushed the guard, trying to force her way through. "Mother-in-law," I called out loudly and in an icy tone. They both froze and turned to me. "Oh," Eleanor sneered. "Our precious daughter-in-law. You still dare to show your face here. You destroyed our family. You poured a bucket of mud on us. Relatives called me all night, cursing me. She lunged at me, raising her hand to slap me. I stepped back, and the security guard managed to intercept her arm. "What are you doing?" "Assault in a hospital. She's my daughter-in-law. I'm disciplining her," Eleanor shrieked, trying to break free. Mark also came forward and pushed the guard. "Get your hands off my mother." "Sister-in-law, you're quite something. You posted the recording for everyone to see. Now my fiancé just broke off our engagement. Are you happy?" I looked at Mark, then at Eleanor. So that was it. They came not just out of malice. They came because they were cornered. Relatives had turned their backs on them. Mark was left without a fiancé. They had lost everything. "I didn't do anything," I said, discreetly slipping my hand into my pocket and turning on video recording on my phone. "Everyone heard what you said. You have only yourselves to blame." "You," Mark snarled. "How dare you say that? You stole $1.5 million from our family. You destroyed my happiness. Today I'll show you." He lunged forward, but seeing the phone pointed at him, he froze. Eleanor didn't. She had lost her mind. She wasn't aiming for me. She saw my frightened mother at the end of the corridor and the folder with receipts and documents for the surgery in my hands. "Money! It's all because of money," she hissed. She lunged not at me, but at the folder in my hands. "You paid for his surgery with my money? I won't allow it. I won't allow him to be saved." I didn't expect this. I tried to hold on to the folder, but she ripped it away. Crunch! Crunch! In front of the stunned security guards and approaching nurses, Eleanor furiously began to tear up the $300,000 surgery payment receipt. "I'll rip it. I'll rip everything. Let's see how you do the surgery without a receipt." "Ha ha ha," she laughed hysterically. Mark chimed in, "That's right, Mom. Rip everything. No money, no surgery. Let the old parasite die." My mother, at the far end of the corridor, seeing this, collapsed unconscious. "Mom!" I screamed, but I didn't run to her. My hand still held the phone tightly. The camera was still aimed at Eleanor's and Mark's insane faces and the scattered pieces of paper on the floor. Chaos reached its peak. Mom was unconscious. Nurses rushed to her. The floor was strewn with white shreds of the $300,000 receipt and the surgical consent form. The mother and son stood in the middle of this mess, breathing heavily, with triumphant faces. "See?" Eleanor pointed at the scraps. "I told you, no one gets it." I remained silent. I turned off the video recording. A more than 3-minute video clearly captured everything. Their insults, threats, assault, and destruction of documents. And Mark's phrase, "Let the old parasite die," was perfectly recorded. I turned to the security guard. "Call the police. Report a breach of public order, intentional destruction of property of a significant amount, and obstruction of medical care." The guard, though still in shock, immediately nodded. "Understood. I'll call now." Hearing the word police, Eleanor hesitated slightly, but then flared up again. You're threatening me. Call them. I'm her mother-in-law. I'm disciplining my daughter-in-law. I tore up my family's papers. What does the police have to do with it? First, my voice was strangely calm. You are no longer my mother-in-law. Your son, David, signed the divorce petition last night. We are awaiting a court summons. Eleanor's face contorted. She couldn't believe her ears. What? What did you say? David signed? Second, I raised my phone. This receipt was for $300,000. It's my property. You intentionally destroyed my property. This video, along with the testimonies of the nurses and security, is enough to charge you and your son with felony destruction of property. Given the extent of the damage, you face up to 5 years in prison. I wasn't a lawyer, but I had prepared very well. Mark, who was used to living off others, turned deathly pale upon hearing about 5 years in prison. Mom, what is she saying? Jail? I don't want to go to jail. Eleanor also trembled. She didn't think it was so serious. You're lying. You're scaring me. I accidentally tore it. I was angry. It was accidental. Accidental? I sneered. Let the police watch the video and decide if you did it accidentally or intentionally. And there's also a charge for disorderly conduct in a public place and assault on a security guard. It looks like you both face real jail time. Just then, the wail of sirens was heard in the distance. The hospital was near the police station. They arrived quickly. 2 police officers entered, accompanied by the on-duty doctor. Who called? What happened here? I stepped forward. Hello. I called. I am Sarah Thompson, a relative of the patient currently undergoing surgery. These two, I pointed to Eleanor and Mark, who were huddled together, burst into a sterile zone, yelling, insulting staff. When I tried to calm them down, they attacked me, snatched a $300,000 surgery payment receipt, and tore it up. Here, I handed my phone to the police officer. This is the full video of what happened. I ask you to take action. They are threatening the safety of the hospital and my father's life. The police officer watched the video. His brows furrowed as he heard the insults and saw Eleanor tearing the documents. All right, you two. He pointed at them. Come to the station. Your IDs. Eleanor was genuinely scared. No, I'm her mother-in-law. We just have a family conflict. Officers, forgive me. I'm old. I wasn't thinking. Mother-in-law? The police officer looked at me. My husband, David, signed a divorce petition last night. We are no longer spouses. She came here to cause a scene, I confirmed. Family conflict or not, you'll sort that out at the station. Disorderly conduct in a hospital and property damage are unacceptable, the police officer snapped. Let's go. Mark, in a panic, sat on the floor. I'm not going. I don't want to go to jail. Mom, save me. Sarah, I'm begging you. I was wrong. Forgive me. Tell the police you were joking. The security guard and police officer lifted him. Eleanor also began to sob and cling to me. Sarah, darling, forgive me. I was foolish. Forgive me and Mark. If he gets a criminal record, his life will be ruined. Daughter, I'm begging you on my knees. She actually tried to get on her knees, but I stepped back. I looked at the sobbing woman who, just 5 minutes ago, had been a true devil. There was not a shred of pity in my heart. Take them away, the police officer ordered. They were dragged away, despite their screams and pleas. Silence returned to the corridor. My mother had already been taken to a room. I bent down and picked up a scrap of the receipt. It's nothing, I told myself. The receipt can be replaced, and justice must prevail. I knew I needed to go to the station, but I had to wait until my father was out of surgery. Almost 3 hours later, as I was arranging for a duplicate receipt with the hospital administration, David called. Obviously, the police had contacted him. His voice trembled. Sarah, where are you? At the hospital, I replied curtly. The police called me. Mom, Mark. Were they really arrested? Did you file a complaint against them? Do you need anything? I'm busy. No, don't hang up, he cried. Please, Sarah, I'm going to the station. Go there. Withdraw the complaint. Sarah, I'll do anything you say. If you press charges, Mark will go to jail. His life will be over. Mom, if something happens to her, I'm begging you, Sarah. I remained silent. Withdraw the complaint after everything they had done, after they wished death upon my father. Sarah, please say something, he sobbed into the phone. And then an idea flashed through my mind. A memory. A debt. All right, I said. Come to the police precinct in Northwood District. I'll be there. I hung up. I told the hospital representatives that I was going to the police. From your side, please provide staff testimonies and surveillance camera footage. I'm not backing down. I hailed a taxi. David was already waiting at the precinct entrance. He looked even worse than last night. Sunken cheeks, rumpled clothes. Seeing me, he ran up and was about to fall to his knees again. "Stand up," I snapped. "This is a police station, not a stage for your performance." David froze. Tears welled in his eyes. "Sarah, please save Mom and Mark. I can withdraw the complaint about intentional destruction of property," I said directly. "After all, the receipt can be restored. I don't want to initiate a complicated criminal case. Whether Mark goes to jail or not, I don't care." David's face brightened. "Really? Really, Sarah? Thank you." But, I interrupted. "For disorderly conduct and disturbing public order, the state initiates the case. I can't do anything about that. However, if I withdraw my complaint and the hospital agrees, perhaps their punishment will be lenient and they'll get away with an administrative fine. But I have one condition." "What condition?" "I agree to everything," David blurted out. I looked him straight in the eyes. 3 years ago, your parents were renovating their house. They were short on money. My parents lent them $50,000. Right?" David froze. He stammered, "How? How do you know?" "How do I know?" I sneered. "I myself withdrew that money from the bank for Mom so she could give it to them. Here," I pulled out a 4-folded, yellowed sheet from my purse. "A promissory note signed by your father, who is now deceased, and your mother, Eleanor Reynolds. A debt of $50,000 with a promise to repay in 2 years. The term expired a year ago. My parents, seeing that we were going to get married, were too embarrassed to remind you." I unfolded the note in front of David's face. "My condition is simple. Do you want me to withdraw the complaint? To ask the hospital not to insist on strict punishment? Repay the $50,000 plus interest for 1 year of overdue payment at the bank's rate? That's $55,000. Immediately. Cash or transfer?" David stared at the note. His face turned white as paper. He realized this was the real end. Mark's condo was gone, and now he had to find money somewhere to repay the debt. "Sarah," he couldn't utter a word. "I'm giving you a choice," I said. "Either $55,000 and your mother and brother get off with an administrative fine, or I leave the complaint in force, and they prepare for court and possible jail time. Choose." And I'm going to give my statement. I walked past him and entered the precinct, leaving David standing rooted to the spot with a debt he couldn't dispute. I entered the investigator's office. I explained everything in order, provided the video and the testimonies of the hospital staff. I clearly stated my position. On the charge of property destruction, I was willing to settle, as the damage was remediable. But on the charges of disorderly conduct, insult, and disturbing the peace in a public place, I demanded the strictest punishment within the law. I didn't want to send Mark to jail, but they had to be punished. A maximum administrative fine that would make them remember this lesson, and a financial blow that would cripple them. This was the price they had to pay. The police officer nodded. "We understand. We will draw up a report and issue the maximum possible fine for these offenses. Your petition to discontinue the case under Criminal Code Article Number for destruction of property will be attached to the file. Please sign the report." I signed. When I came out, David was still standing there. His face was gray. "Sarah," he ran to me. Did you withdraw the complaint? The criminal case will be dropped, but they will be issued a large fine," I said. "And what about my condition?" David trembled. $55,000. Where will I get that kind of money now? Give me time." "I won't give it to you." I cut him off. "The debt is a year overdue. My parents need money for rehabilitation. I'm giving you exactly 1 week. If, in 1 week, $55,000 isn't in my mother's account, I'll file a civil lawsuit for debt recovery. And then, it won't be $55,000, David. It will be penalties, court costs, and your house will be seized. Think it over." I no longer looked at him. I got into a taxi and drove back to the hospital. Only now did my heart truly relax. I had done everything I could. Now all my thoughts were only about one person, about my father. I returned to the corridor in front of the operating room. Mom had already regained consciousness and sat, holding a glass of water with trembling hands. Seeing me, she asked, "Sarah, those people. Are you all right?" I took her thin hand. "Mom, I'm fine. I've taken care of everything. No one will dare to bother us again. Trust me." Mom looked at me with eyes full of pain and pride. She nodded, asking no more questions. She knew what I had been through. Time dragged on agonizingly slowly. 5 hours. 6. Mom and I sat, staring at the red light above the operating room door. I prayed. Never in my life had I prayed so hard. I prayed for my father, a kind man who had never harmed anyone in his life. Finally, after almost 8 long hours, the door swung open. The light went out. The chief surgeon emerged, tired, his forehead covered in perspiration. Mom and I rushed to him. "Doctor, how is he? How is my father?" The surgeon removed his mask and, despite his fatigue, smiled a smile that illuminated the entire corridor. "Congratulations. The surgery was very successful. The patient is out of danger. We installed 3 bypasses. Blood flow has been restored. Surprisingly, despite his age, he has a strong will to live, and you came to us in time." I stopped hearing. Successful. That word echoed in my head. I sank to my knees. Mom did too. We hugged and burst into tears of happiness, of relief, that all the horror of the past few days was finally over. My father was saved. He would live. A short while later, he was wheeled out. He was still unconscious, pale, but his chest rose and fell steadily. I took his hand and pressed my cheek against it. It was warm. Tears flowed down my cheeks again. But these were tears of joy. "Dad, you're a fighter," I whispered. "I'm here. Mom's here. We're going home." I spent the next few days at the hospital. The $1.5 million was spent as intended. I provided my father with the best room, the best medication, the best care. I spared no expense. Seeing him recover day by day, first breathing on his own, then sitting up, then eating broth, I felt that all my sacrifices were not in vain. Our family ties, having passed through this ordeal, only grew stronger. Mom looked at me with love. "Sarah, my daughter, you've grown so much. Your father and I are proud of you." I smiled. "Yes, I've grown. Enough to protect those I love, and enough to punish those who harmed my family." A week passed. My father's health had significantly improved. Exactly on the 7th day, David called me. There was no longer pleading in his voice, only deadly fatigue. "Sarah, I transferred the money. Overwusher. Lin Lingen. And Tines Distorhs. It's the comment in the reges. Expianstated. Action reboard. Expirtation. A ponday. In the Devert prosavations indescrivent. Is ovation forcations of the fires. Actually ventalis. Dacticate. Hepa. Hafter. Inister vive. End quote. Ass. In a 21 was. Its processive timbersens. Ac. Minus dav. It's ascated. Enenda. Dent in her watively right. And besticked. Intaction rest. As weather. Experiencely, and reller. S. Experient. It's not no. Action divided. Its size. Die. And it's stud one the one. Apodically, and describe. Apodically, and describe. Inacumbity. Effect forgetted. Indounced. Every one, and he present, and her lost, in the stage's free time. Refugate no, lied present a. In his nother. 18, every dollars the persited. 500 0J. Check your mom. S'account. I open my banking app. An SMS, 55,000 deposited. "I see," I replied coldly. "David," he faltered. We're not." "No," I interrupted. "The debt is paid. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., in court. Bring your ID. Don't be late." I hung up. So, to find $55,000 to repay the debt and pay a huge administrative fine, I heard it was about $100,000. Eleanor had no other choice. She had to sell her house, the 3-story house, in a good neighborhood that she was so proud of. But since the money was needed urgently, within a week, she was forced to heavily discount the price. The house, worth over $2 million, was sold for only $1.5 million. After paying me the debt, the fine, and other small debts she had incurred for Mark, she had almost nothing left. One of the relatives told me this news. After that night when I posted the truth in the chat, the entire Reynolds family turned their backs on Eleanor and her sons. The elder uncle called to apologize to me and my parents. He also told me what had become of them. Eleanor, having sold her house, was forced to move with Mark into a dilapidated apartment on the outskirts of the city. From mistress of a large home, she turned into a quarrelsome old woman, despised by her new neighbors and abandoned by her old relatives. From shame and loss, she aged 20 years. Mark, her precious son, suffered even more. The video of the hospital scandal made it into local social media. His fiancée definitively broke off their engagement. He was immediately fired from his internship. Having lost his fiancée, his job, and his dream of a condo, he became a regular unemployed man who wandered around all day, demanding money from his mother and causing arguments. Their life in the cramped apartment became daily hell. And David, my kind husband, suffered perhaps the most, though in a different way. Rumors of the scandals at the bank and hospital, the anger of relatives, all of this reached his management. He wasn't fired, but he was demoted from a promising department head to the archives, sorting papers. It was a humiliation. Colleagues avoided him. His superiors ignored him. Unable to bear the shame, he resigned. He lost everything: his wife, his family, his career. He rented a small room and lived alone, tormented by remorse. Sometimes he would text me, "Sarah, I was wrong. Sarah, how is your father? Sarah, give me a chance." I never replied. They all paid their price for greed and cruelty. I didn't punish them. They destroyed themselves. A month later, my father was discharged from the hospital. He recovered miraculously. On the day of his discharge, I received a court summons. Our divorce took 15 minutes. Since everything was by mutual consent, there were no disputes over property. David stood before me, thin, emaciated, aged 10 years. He dared not look me in the eyes. When the judge asked, "Mr. Reynolds, do you agree to the dissolution of your marriage with Miss Thompson?" he merely mumbled softly, "Yes." Signing the last document, I felt an immense sense of relief. I walked out of the courtroom, never once looking back. I heard him call my name, Sarah, but I didn't stop. I returned his $30,000. We were square. Returning home, I saw a peaceful scene. Father was reading the newspaper. Mom was arranging flowers. I made a decision. "Dad, Mom," I said, "we're moving." "Where, daughter?" "To a place where there's sea and fresh air." I smiled. "I'll sell this condo." Too many bad memories are associated with it. Dad needs peace and a good climate for a full recovery. "What if we move to a coastal city?" Father looked at Mom and nodded. "I'll follow your lead, daughter. Where you are, there will be." The condo sold quickly and profitably. A week later, the three of us, with a few suitcases, left that bustling city. We chose a beautiful, quiet town by the sea, rented a wonderful apartment with a balcony overlooking the promenade. Every morning, waking up to the sound of waves and breathing in the salty air, I felt reborn. My father's health improved day by day. He started walking on the beach. Mom joined a senior wellness group. They became cheerful and joyful again. Looking at them, I felt absolutely happy. This was real life. This was a real family. With my resilience, I fought for my father's life and happiness for all of us. The battle was over, and I was the victor.